Welcome, everyone. Before you listen any further, I want you to understand something clearly. This is not a motivational video. This is not a list of life hacks. And this is definitely not something to play in the background and forget. What you are about to hear are truths, not the kind that make you feel comfortable, but the kind that quietly reshape how you see yourself, your time, and your life. Most people go through life collecting information. Very few stop to confront what is true. And yet, it is not lack of knowledge that keeps people stuck. It is the refusal to accept certain truths. Truths about effort, truths about pain, truths about responsibility, truths about time, and how unforgiving it really is. These are the truths that once seen cannot be unseen. They don't shout. They don't beg for attention. They simply wait, patiently, until you are ready to face them. Today, I want to share 8 truths, not theories, not opinions, but principles that have quietly changed lives, including those who once resisted them the most. If you truly listen, you may find yourself uncomfortable at times. That discomfort is not a warning sign. It is an invitation to grow, to let go of illusions, and to finally step into a more honest version of your life. So take a breath, slow down your thoughts, and listen, not just with your ears, but with your awareness. Let's begin. Truth 1. No one is coming to save you. At some point in life, a quiet realization arrives. Not loudly, not dramatically, but with a weight that stays. No one is coming to save you. Not your family, not your friends, not the perfect opportunity, not the right moment, not luck, not motivation. This truth is uncomfortable because it dismantles a story many people carry for years. The story that someone or something will eventually arrive and change everything. We wait. We wait until we feel ready. We wait until we are more confident. We wait until life becomes less complicated. We wait until the timing feels right. And while we wait, time keeps moving. The harsh truth is this: most people are not stuck because life is unfair. They are stuck because they are waiting for permission to take responsibility. From childhood, we are conditioned to believe that guidance will always come from the outside. Teachers tell us what to do. Rules tell us where to go. Systems tell us how to behave. But adulthood removes that structure quietly, without explanation. Suddenly, there is no clear roadmap, no applause for effort, no authority figure ensuring you stay on track. And that silence is terrifying. So people look for substitutes. They look for mentors, shortcuts, trends, or external validation. They look for someone to blame, or someone to follow. But responsibility cannot be outsourced. The moment your life begins to change is the moment you stop asking, "Who will help me?" and start asking, "What am I avoiding?" Because deep down, most people already know what needs to be done. They just don't want to feel the discomfort of doing it alone. Taking responsibility does not mean blaming yourself for everything. It means recognizing that your future is not negotiable with excuses. No one else wakes up with your regrets. No one else feels the weight of your unused potential. No one else pays the price for the days you let slip away. And once you truly accept that, something powerful happens. You stop waiting. You stop hoping someone will notice you, choose you, rescue you. You stop explaining your situation to people who cannot change it anyway. Instead, you begin to move, imperfectly, quietly, without guarantees. This truth does not make life easier. It makes life honest. And honesty is the foundation of real change, because the moment you stop waiting to be saved is the moment you begin to save yourself. Truth 2. Motivation is unreliable. Discipline is everything. One of the biggest lies people believe about change is this: I'll start when I feel motivated. It sounds reasonable, even logical, but it quietly keeps millions of people exactly where they are. Motivation is emotional. It rises when things feel exciting. It disappears when things feel heavy, boring, or uncertain. And life, real life, is filled with long stretches of boredom, resistance, and doubt. If motivation were enough, most people would already be living extraordinary lives. They've felt inspired before. They've watched the videos. They've read the quotes. They've made promises to themselves late at night. But inspiration fades. Emotion fades. Energy fades. What remains is choice. Discipline is not intensity. It is consistency. It is showing up on the days when nothing feels special. It is doing the work when no one is watching. It is continuing even when progress is invisible. Discipline is often misunderstood as harshness or self-punishment. In reality, it is self-respect in action. Every disciplined choice sends a message to your mind. I do what I said I would do. And over time, that message becomes identity. People who rely on motivation are always restarting. People who rely on discipline are always building. The uncomfortable truth is this: if you only act when you feel like it, your life will always be controlled by moods you don't choose. Discipline removes negotiation. You don't ask, do I feel like doing this today? You ask, is this aligned with who I'm becoming? That shift changes everything. Because discipline doesn't care if you're tired. It doesn't care if you're inspired. It doesn't care if today feels meaningful. It only cares that you show up. And each time you do, you build trust with yourself. That trust is rare, and it is powerful. Most people break promises to themselves daily, and then wonder why they lack confidence. Confidence is not something you discover. It is something you earn through repeated self-honoring actions. Discipline is what carries you through the silence, through the plateaus, through the moments where quitting would be easier. Motivation may start the journey, but discipline is what finishes it. And once you stop depending on how you feel, you gain control over what you become. Truth 3. You are not afraid of failure. You are afraid of what it will reveal. Most people believe they are afraid of failing, but that is not the real fear. Failure itself is not dangerous. It is temporary. It is recoverable. What people truly fear is exposure. Failure reveals. It strips away excuses. It shows effort without guarantees. It forces you to confront who you are when things don't work. And that moment, standing face to face with your own limits, is deeply uncomfortable. So instead of risking failure, many people choose something safer. They choose delay. They choose preparation without action. They choose perfectionism disguised as responsibility. I just need more time. I'm not ready yet. I need one more plan. But beneath those words is fear, not of failing, but of finding out the truth about yourself. Because once you try, you can no longer pretend. You can no longer tell yourself, I would have succeeded if I tried. Trying removes the fantasy. It replaces imagination with reality. And reality is honest. This is why people stay in situations they've outgrown, why they remain in careers that drain them, why they silence ideas that could change their lives. Not because they are incapable, but because action demands courage. Failure forces you to answer questions you've avoided. Am I disciplined enough? Am I patient enough? Am I willing to be bad before I get better? And for many people, those questions feel more threatening than staying stuck. But here is the truth most people never hear. Failure is not a verdict on your worth. It is feedback. It tells you where you are weak, so you can grow stronger. It shows you what works and what doesn't. Avoiding failure does not protect your confidence. It quietly destroys it. Because deep down, you know when you are hiding. And every time you choose comfort over courage, you reinforce the belief that you cannot handle the truth. But you can. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act while fear is present. The people you admire most did not avoid failure. They learned to stand inside it without running away. They stopped protecting their image and started building their character. The moment you stop fearing what failure will reveal is the moment you finally give yourself permission to grow. Truth 4. Your time is being spent. Whether you choose it or not, every single day something is taken from you. Not money, not energy, time. And the most dangerous part is this. It is taken quietly. No alarms, no warnings, no dramatic moments. Just minutes turning into hours. Hours turning into years. Most people believe they use time. In reality, time uses them, unless they take control. You don't decide whether time passes. You only decide how unconsciously you let it pass. People say they don't have time. What they mean is, they did not choose where it went. Time does not disappear. It gets spent. On distractions, on hesitation, on comfort, on avoidance. Every scroll is a choice. Every delay is a decision. Every "I'll do it later" is a quiet trade. And the cost is invisible in the moment. You don't feel time slipping away while you're distracted. You feel it years later, when you realize how much potential went unused. Here's a hard truth. Your future is being shaped by what currently holds your attention. Not your intentions. Not your goals. Your attention. Whatever consistently receives your time eventually becomes your life. That's why two people can live the same number of years and end up with completely different lives. One guarded their time, the other assumed they had more. Time does not require your permission to move forward, but it does require your awareness to be used well. The uncomfortable reality is this. If you don't decide what deserves your time, everything else will decide for you. Urgency will steal it. Comfort will dilute it. Distraction will consume it. And one day, you will look back, not at what you did wrong, but at what you never prioritized. Respecting your time is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters. Intentionally. It is saying no without guilt. It is choosing depth over noise. It is acting before conditions feel perfect. Because time does not reward good intentions. It rewards decisions. And the moment you start treating your time as something precious, something non-refundable, your life begins to change direction. Truth 5. Comfort is the most expensive addiction you'll ever have. Most people don't ruin their lives through dramatic mistakes. They ruin them slowly, through comfort. Comfort feels harmless. It feels safe. It feels earned. And that's why it's dangerous. Comfort never announces itself as a problem. It whispers. It says, "You deserve a break. Just for today. There's always tomorrow. And tomorrow quietly becomes next year. Comfort is not laziness. It is avoidance dressed as self-care. It is choosing what feels good now over what will matter later. The human mind is wired to seek ease, to avoid discomfort, to conserve energy. That instinct once kept us alive. Today, it keeps many people small, because growth demands friction. Progress requires discomfort. Not all at once, but consistently. Reading when you'd rather scroll, practicing when you'd rather relax, speaking up when silence feels easier. Comfort resists all of it. The cruel truth is this: the life you want exists just outside the routines that keep you comfortable. That's why change feels threatening. Not because it's impossible, but because it asks you to give up familiar pain. People often say they fear change. What they really fear is losing the identity they've built around comfort. Comfort tells you, you're fine where you are. But fine is the most dangerous word in personal growth. Fine keeps you stuck. Fine kills urgency. Fine numbs ambition. Comfort delays the hard conversations. It delays discipline. It delays responsibility. And the bill always comes later. With interest. You pay for comfort with regret. With missed chances. With quiet dissatisfaction you can't explain. Discomfort, on the other hand, asks for payment up front. Effort now, focus now, courage now. But it pays dividends. Every time you choose discomfort intentionally, you expand your capacity. You prove to yourself that you can endure, that you can adapt, that you can grow. Comfort makes life easier today. Discomfort makes life better tomorrow. And the moment you stop organizing your life around comfort, you stop shrinking your potential to fit your habits. Truth 6. Most of your suffering comes from resisting reality. Pain is part of life. Suffering is optional. This truth is difficult to accept because it challenges how we interpret hardship. Pain is what happens to you. Suffering is what happens inside you when you refuse to accept what is. Most people are not suffering because life is cruel. They are suffering because they are fighting reality. They argue with the past. They resent what cannot be changed. They replay moments, wishing they had acted differently. But reality does not negotiate. The more you resist what is, the more power it has over you. Acceptance is often misunderstood as weakness, as giving up, as surrendering your standards. But acceptance is not approval. It is clarity. It is saying, this is where I am, without excuses, without stories. Only from that place can change begin. When you deny reality, you waste energy. When you accept reality, you redirect energy. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is required of me now? That shift restores agency. Life becomes lighter. Not because it is easier, but because you are no longer carrying unnecessary resistance. Most emotional exhaustion comes from wanting life to be different. Instead of dealing with what it actually is, you don't heal by rewriting the past. You heal by releasing the fight against it. Reality is not your enemy. It is your starting point. The sooner you face it fully, the sooner you regain control over your next move. Acceptance doesn't mean you like what happened. It means you stop letting it define you. And the moment you stop resisting reality, your energy returns. Your focus sharpens, and your growth accelerates. Truth 7. You become what you repeatedly tolerate. Change does not begin with what you do. It begins with what you allow. Most people think their lives are shaped by big decisions. In reality, they are shaped by small tolerances. The conversations you avoid, the standards you lower, the behaviors you excuse. In yourself and in others. Every time you tolerate something that goes against your values, you teach yourself what is acceptable, and your life adjusts accordingly. Tolerating disrespect does not make you kind. It makes you invisible. Tolerating chaos does not make you flexible. It makes you unfocused. Tolerating habits that drain you does not make you human. It makes you stagnant. Boundaries are not walls. They are filters. They decide what gets access to your time, your energy, your attention. Without boundaries, everything enters, and nothing improves. Many people avoid setting boundaries because they fear conflict, but avoiding boundaries creates a deeper conflict with yourself. Each time you stay silent when you should speak, you betray your own growth. Each time you accept less than you know you deserve, you train yourself to expect less. The truth is uncomfortable. Your current life is a reflection of what you have tolerated so far. That does not mean it is permanent, but it does mean it is honest. Raising your standards will feel uncomfortable, not because they are wrong, but because you are used to less. When you stop tolerating what drains you, you create space for what strengthens you. Growth begins the moment you decide that your time, your energy, and your values are no longer available at a discount, and the life you want requires a version of you who is willing to say, "This is no longer acceptable." Truth 8. Your life changes the moment you decide who you will no longer be. Most people try to change their lives by adding something new, a new habit, a new goal, a new routine. But real transformation rarely begins with addition. It begins with subtraction, with a decision, quiet, firm, and internal, about who you will no longer be. You don't become stronger by wishing. You become stronger by refusing. Refusing to repeat the same patterns. Refusing to carry the same excuses. Refusing to protect versions of yourself that no longer serve you. Growth requires endings, not dramatic ones, not public announcements, but internal closures. There is a version of you that avoids discomfort, a version that delays, a version that waits for certainty. And as long as you keep that version alive, your future remains negotiable. Change becomes inevitable only when indecision ends. When you stop saying, "I'm trying," and start saying, "I don't live that way anymore." Identity shapes behavior more than effort ever will. If you see yourself as someone who quits, you will quit, eventually. If you see yourself as someone who shows up, you will find a way, even when it's hard. This is why willpower fails, and identity lasts. The most powerful moment in personal growth is not when you feel inspired. It is when you decide, without emotion, that returning to your old ways is no longer an option. You don't need to know every step forward. You only need to know what you are done repeating. Letting go can feel like loss, but what you lose is limitation. The habits, the stories, the self-image that kept you small. And in that space, something stronger emerges, a version of you that acts with intention, that moves with clarity. That doesn't need constant motivation to stay aligned. Your life changes, not when circumstances improve, but when your standards become non-negotiable. And the moment you decide who you will no longer be, your future finally has room to arrive. If you've stayed until this moment, it means something inside you is listening. Not for entertainment, not for motivation, but for truth. Because the truths you've just heard are not meant to impress you. They are meant to challenge you. Nothing in this video asked you to be perfect. Nothing promised an easy path. Nothing offered shortcuts. What it offered was clarity. Clarity about responsibility. Clarity about discipline. Clarity about time, comfort, fear, and identity. And clarity is powerful. Because once you see clearly, you can no longer pretend you didn't know. Change does not happen all at once. It happens the moment you decide to stop lying to yourself. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when conditions are ideal. Now. You don't need to remember every word from this video. You only need to remember one thing. Your life will not change by accident. It will change by decision. So take a moment. Ask yourself honestly, which truth hits you the hardest, and what are you going to do differently because of it? If this video helped you see your life more clearly, consider subscribing to the channel. Not for me, but as a commitment to yourself, that you are choosing growth over comfort. And turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next conversation. That might challenge the way you think, the way you act, and the way you live. Thank you for listening. Take what matters, leave what doesn't. And remember, the truth doesn't change your life until you decide to act on it. See you in the next video.